All right. Hello, English 115. I hope you guys are all doing really well. Class today is going to be focused on breaking down our essay 3, discussing the different components and focusing on the conclusion. So our last class really talked about our thesis statements, talking about our introduction paragraph, and then went through how to create our body paragraphs. So this is going to kind of be a recap of that, and then in addition, review how we create our conclusion. So let's get started. So let's make sure that I can share our screen. Perfect. Okay, great. So we're sitting over here and we're going to look through our first example essay. Now remember that this is on Canvas, so at any point, hold on, why is sharing paused here? Let's see if this works. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go through our example essay, and you guys should be going through your essay as well as we're going through this. Okay. So where can I put my little face? Probably over here. So we can take a look and see that this person has done their MLA formatting really well. So again, you're going to put your last name up here in the top right-hand corner with the page number. Now, all you have to do if you're having a hard time with this is click, right? So I just left clicked and this popped up. Now, if I wanted to write my last name, I would just write Myers. I want to make sure that this is Times New Roman, so I can go over here, Times New Roman, size 12. It's not a funky color, okay? So, and then I just click right out. And that way, when you continue, you can see Myers is on the next page, and the page numbers change. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and change that to last name so you guys know that you need to write that in. Of course, we write our full name here. You write my title, and since this is a professional document, and you write my name. Please spell my last name right. We've been together for a few months now. Please write your English class. So this is not your English class, okay? So none of you are in English 11584, so definitely check and change that. And then you're gonna write your due date, okay? Next, we're going to make sure that there's no extra space here, okay? So if your essay looks like this, I'm going to say, hey, what's going on with this extra space? So all you have to do is delete, and then it pulls it right up, and we can put our title here. Now, this person wasn't super creative, but that's totally fine. So let's start going through their essay. So let's make it a little clearer. So we're first going to be talking about our introduction paragraph. And we talked about this last class, but it's really important that we repeat things so we understand. Excuse me. So this first part is going to be our hook, okay? So we have our hook in yellow. Sorry for 1 second. Sorry. So we have our hook in yellow. This person chose a quote. So this person used quotes here to start. They used a comma appropriately, and then she or he used quotes here, or they used quotes here. Then we have stated, and we have the author. Again, we don't do a dash. We just use a verb, so stated, wrote, and this is going to be the past tense, okay? Mentioned, okay? Any sort of synonym to stated. Good, so our hook is done. Now double check your hook and make sure that it is crafted correctly in terms of punctuation and in terms of word choice and grammar. Okay, you can pause the video at any time. Now, wow, we're going to look at this big chunk of information, right? And this is going to be our background information. And so I'm going to put this in yellow for the moment. Actually, that's kind of tough on the eyes, so let's not do that. So we say social mobility is the ability to shift social status in society. This movement can involve individuals, families, households, or groups. And I'd actually probably change this, right, and put a semicolon. Semicolons are used when you have two independent clauses, which means kind of two complete sentences. And so we don't use a comma, because we use a comma when part of the sentence cannot exist by itself. So we would use a semicolon here because this can be a sentence and then this could be a sentence. So we just want to separate it by a semicolon. So immediately this person defines what social mobility is, right? So this is the ability. Perfect. Great. So we're going through our definition. This ability to shift in social status can either go up, down, or sideways. Social mobility can affect people by factors such as personal agency, which is the ability to take action of one's life when it comes to thoughts and behaviors. So we, ding, 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 we have social agency. Social capital, which establishes how social relations amongst individuals has benefits to society. Opportunity gaps is another factor because it contributes to lower educational aspirations and achievements in regard to someone's socioeconomic status, race, or ethnicity. And lastly, place-based initiatives affect people because it focuses on communities and place and how place matters. Wow, so let's look at how long this sentence is. It starts here and it goes all the way here. That is what we call a run-on sentence. So although the student achieved an A on this essay, we would definitely want to edit this down and divide out this person's sentences. So if you have this issue, if you know that your writing is just going on and on and on and on, put in some periods. Okay, so let's do that together. Social mobility can affect people by factors such as personal agency, which is the ability to take action of one's life when it comes to thoughts and behaviors. Awesome. We're going to put a period there. We can say social capital, which establishes how social relations amongst individuals has benefits in society, is another vital factor, another vital force that influences one's ability to move up in society. Okay, good, we have that sentence. Additionally, opportunity gaps are another factor. We just used, yeah, no, that's fine. Factor because they contribute to lower educational aspirations and achievements in regards to someone's, they may contribute. I put may because it's not always. So we want to stay away from absolutes. So that's why we use conditionals like may or could or might. Contribute to lower educational aspirations and achievements in regard to someone's social status, race, and ethnicity, period. Lastly, place-based initiatives affect people because they focus on communities and how place matters. So you guys can see, just ability to take action in one's life. Why is this giving me an issue? No, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this. So you can see that we divided this from one sentence to 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is looking good. Now remember, you don't have to go through and list exactly these definitions. It's even a little bit better to synthesize, which means explain how these concepts are important without explicitly stating them. So this is super great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then this person talks about upward mobility, which is great. I'm just going to exit out of here because I want to show you guys. Oh, this keeps on telling me that you can't see that when I do that. So let me just do desktop. Okay. Okay, there we go. So for the second social mobility example, I'll show you what it looks like to synthesize instead of just list. Okay, so we have our hook right here, right? Then we have our background information here. So we can see social mobility is the ability. So we have this definition immediately. We have personal agency. So we see that this person said, for example, one's determination and motivation to do better, also known as personal agency, is a key factor to one's rising, which is great. Social capital, great, great. Opportunities, and this meant opportunity gaps. Oh no, she put that down here. Okay, perfect. She actually did explicitly state that. And then place-based initiatives, good. Good. Nice, you guys. Okay. So we have these important factors here, and we've talked about social mobility, right? And this is the definition up here. And this person didn't talk about upward mobility, but that's okay um, because we have that in our thesis statement. So this is our background. Our background information needs to define what social mobility is and talk about the factors that we discussed in class two times ago. All right. So let's take a look at our thesis statements. So I'm going to put our thesis statements. Excuse me, my nose is itching. Okay, my thesis statement is here. Some factors that impede one from achieving upward mobility are a lack of financial resources, family problems, and a lack of motivation. Semicolon, however, comma, communities can help their citizens by providing more after-school programs for the youth. Perfect. Very clear, very direct. We have our 4 important parts there. And let's double check this one. 3 factors that impede successful mobility, upward mobility, are a lack of education, motivation, and negative thoughts. However, communities can help people on the path to success by focusing on team development through after-school programs. Perfect. So we can see that we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and then we have 4. So we need to have 4 clear parts of our thesis so that we can have 4 clear body paragraphs. Okay, so let's do that here as well. So lack of financial resources, family problems, a lack of motivation. Sorry if you hear my husband in the background, he's also working from home, and more after school programs. Okay, so there's 4. Perfect. So if we go back and we see this from a bird's eye view, we have our thesis, our hook here, our background in the middle, talking about defining social mobility, talking about our key terms, and then we have our thesis statement. So the same thing should be right over here. We have our sorry, I can't focus with him talking. We have our hook, and then we have our background information, and then we have our thesis statement, which is awesome. Hold on, I'm going to pause this and tell him to be quiet. Okay, you guys, I think that we're back recording. So what we're going to be doing now is going through our body paragraphs. So let's take a look at our first example essay. So for our first body paragraph, we see that this person's body paragraph is long. Your body paragraph does not necessarily need to be this long, right? This is almost a full page. So don't get stressed out about this. We can go through this and it doesn't have to be that long, okay? This is a 4-page paper. It's a 6-paragraph essay. So your paragraphs do not need to be a page in length each. So let's take a look. This person's first topic is a lack of financial resources. So let's look at her topic sentence. Upward mobility can be difficult to achieve when someone is disadvantaged by the lack of financial resources. Amazing. So we have that clear supporting point stated in the same way as our thesis statement. Wonderful. For example, great, a lack of financial resources can prevent one from pursuing higher education. Many families do not have enough money to provide their children with a college education since they only have enough money for the basic necessities and cannot afford to pay tuition. Students that come from low-income families do not have the option to attend college due to the cost and extra expenses. Okay, according to California State 2019 tuition cost statistics, we put a comma in here. In California alone, tuition ranges from $3,000 to $11,000 plus books, school supplies, and other personal expenses. That's nearly $2,000 to $3,000 extra on top of tuition that many cannot afford to pay. Transportation, it represents an additional challenge. Okay, so we've moved away from her first example. So her first example is how a lack of financial resources affect higher ed. Her second example is transportation. Okay, transportation represents an additional challenge to those who lack financial resources. Due to the high cost of living, Due to the high cost of living, as more inclusive families have to consider, so I'd say rephrase that, more families have to consider the economics of every decision, and many may involve moving across the border to Mexico. Moving across the border can be a struggle for those who have to work and go to school every day. For example, in an interview with Gu, I'm not pronouncing that right, Caitlin Trimble, resident of Baja, gives jarring insight into her daily routine, which involves crossing the border every day, taking 2 buses to trolley and walking for 3 minutes. This should be changed to 3 in between to get to school and repeat. Many can relate to the struggle of crossing daily and having to make it to the border early enough before the line gets too long and still having to use public transportation. Good. So here's this person's third example. Moreover, stress can also be caused by lack of financial resources. So our third is, and can lead to health risks and affect relationships. So our third example here is stress. As stated by Amy Gordon, stress spills, blah, blah, blah. So this is a perfect quote because it's not super long. Remember how I said in the previous video, let's not make our quotes more than 2 lines. So this is a perfect example. Stress can cause one to become distant as well as easily provoked. Great. So nonetheless, and so we are here at the concluding sentence. One may find it difficult to achieve upward mobility when they're lacking financial resources. So nonetheless doesn't really make sense here. So we would actually just say one may find it difficult to achieve upward mobility when they are lacking financial resources. And that can be our concluding sentence. Okay. So to go through this one more time, we have I'm going to put this in different colors. So we have our topic sentence in green. We have our first example. We have our second example. We have our third example. And then we have our concluding sentence, which is also in green. Okay. So if we go out, you can see that it is pretty well developed. Good job. And this is why I'm showing you guys this essay. Okay, so let's go through the next paragraph. Family problems can also get in the way of achieving upward mobility. Good, so here we are with our idea of family problems. If we look at our thesis, we have family problems as our second idea. So that's clear, we like that. I'm actually gonna put this in bold instead of red. Good, so we have our topic sentence, great. Especially in low-income families who are prone to these situations more than any other class. This is actually what's called a fragment sentence, okay? So a fragment sentence means that it's not a complete sentence. So we would need to adjust that a little bit. So especially in low-income families who are prone to these situations more than any other class, we would say, comma, H. Having to balance school with familial obligations to provide support for their families can often negatively affect kids' attendance and academic performance, and many times lead them to drop out of school. So now this is a little bit of a run-on sentence, so we'd have to revise that a little bit. But so let's see, what is this person's first example? Balancing school and family obligations. Okay, as stated by Daniel Douglas, 65% of kids who quit high school are at or below the poverty line. It may explain why kids who come from troubled family backgrounds usually fall in the same economic status as their families and rarely move up the social ladder. Okay, so we have moreover, which shows our second example. In family problems that involve parents getting divorced or from the start are single parents can have a negative impacts on children and are also known to have low social mobility rates. Okay, so we're talking about parents who are divorced or single. So her example then gets into a little bit about, pretty much just about divorce. Okay, so I might give her a comment like, hey, you didn't actually explain this. You explained this part, but maybe we can take this part out. All right, and lastly, so we have our third example. Her third example is substance abuse. And remember, our topic is family problems. And so we have our first example in terms of kids' family obligations and supporting, which specifically is academic performance. Yeah, Yep, this was her first example. Her second example is parents who are divorced, and her third example is substance abuse. Good. And then here we have our concluding sentence. Along with other reasons, family problems definitely has a hold on one's ability to reach upward mobility. Good. Okay. So now we're going to go into our third body paragraph, which is going to be hopefully structured the same exact way. Another factor that impedes social mobility is a lack of motivation. So we're going to double check in our thesis statement. Is our third one a lack of motivation? It is. Perfect. So we're going to come back down and we're going to look at that. Boop, 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 boop. So this is our topic sentence. Lack of motivation can affect one in the workplace and future life decisions. For example, lack of motivation can be caused by not having any more role models. So this is our first example. As mentioned, perfect. So we have that quote. Good, good, good. Secondly, so our second example here is less likely to be goal-oriented and is less likely to want to do better for themselves. So they usually end up conforming to dismal expectation. So let's see. So this is actually about kind of conforming. So I would say for this person, like, let's be a little clearer here with our example, because we're talking about goals and not wanting to do better for themselves. And then it's kind of talking about conforming. So we would probably just need to clarify what conforming means immediately. Good. So now we have additionally, so for our third example, which talks about low self-esteem. Okay, so we're talking about kids' self-esteem and people's self-esteem and how that's related to motivation and quitting things. And then here's our topic, our concluding sentence. Without a doubt, one who lacks motivation will find it almost impossible to attain upward mobility. Okay, and I like this, how she said, we'll find it almost impossible, because she's staying away from absolutes. She's not saying it will be impossible, period, because we can argue with that. So she said she finds it almost impossible, which gives us wiggle room, so we can't really argue with that one. Okay, so now here's our fourth body paragraph, and this is the paragraph about community-based initiative. So remember, through our thesis statement, we've identified that the community-based initiative that she talked about is school programs for the youth. Okay, so we're looking down. So community-based initiative that will increase the rate of social mobility can be started by providing after-school programs for the youth. And see here it says will again, so we could change this to may increase, because we don't know for sure. Okay. Although after-school programs, so again, this is our topic sentence. Although after-school programs for kids may seem like a small change, it can improve the odds of an individual reaching upward mobility. For instance, after-school programs will help working parents by having somewhere for their child to be after school when they're not being supervised. A supervised zone kids will increase productivity and decrease the number of teenagers getting involved in crimes. So I would probably like her to cite this information, because although we can probably say, like, yeah, that makes sense to us, I understand the relationship there, I'd like her to give a little bit of support in terms of where she got this information from. So an additional benefit would be that students are given a place that offers additional help on homework. So, okay, so that does say increased productivity, which is not the same as additional help, so that's fine. So good, good, good. And furthermore, after-school programs give students a place to hang out and get a chance to be involved in sports and activities. Cool, that sounds good. So this is our concluding sentence. Providing after-school programs would benefit both the working class parents as well as the students that need additional guidance in school. Good, then that makes sense, right? So she talked about parents here, and she talked about the kids down here. So here we are at our concluding paragraph. Remember, this is important. We need to finish strong. Our concluding paragraph has the option for 9 points, and that's with our restatement of our thesis, our summarization, and our final thought. So we need to make sure that we still do this well. So let's look at her restatement of her thesis. Factors that attribute to one achieving upward mobility are lack of financial resources, family problems, and a lack of motivation. This can be partially compensated for if communities help their residents by providing after-school programs for the youth. Now, hopefully something jumps out to you right now. She used 2 sentences, but we really need to use 1 sentence here. So in my feedback to her, I said, hey, we need to adjust this. And I took off a point because we really need to make sure that we're being concise. So we need go from 2 sentences to 1 sentence there. So individuals who come from low income families and lack the financial resources are less likely, so sorry about my speech, less likely to invest in their children's future due to insufficient funds. Perfect. So that's our first body paragraph. Apart from this, family problems. Good, good, good. So that's our second paragraph because of family problems. In addition, the lack of motivation. Very good. Very good. That's our third body paragraph. However, she kind of combines her third body paragraph with her fourth body paragraph. So we would not use a semicolon there. We would just change that to a completely new sentence. Remember, each of your body paragraphs needs to be summarized in one separate sentence. Providing after-school programs is her fourth body paragraph. Awesome. Good. So then this is her final thought. All things considered, upward mobility may be difficult to achieve, but not impossible, although it may take anywhere between a few years or over the span of decades and generations. Cool. I like that. Easy. Done. So let's take a look at her works cited page and make sure it's looking good, because remember, this is part of your essay this time. So the first thing I'm going to look for is it structured correctly? It is. She has her last name and the page number. There's the title, which is just called Works Cited page, not Works Cited page, just called Works Cited, not underlined, italicized, or bolded. Then she has all of her sources here aligned on the left side. And then if her source goes to the next line, she's indented this. Okay, so yeah, so you guys can do this. Sometimes Google Docs gives you a little bit of a hard time, so just try to mess around with it. Sometimes doing a space and then tabbing it is useful, and then going back, so just play around with it. But it should look like the first line is all the way flush to the left, and then every subsequent line, like here, is indented one, so tab. It's also in alphabetical order by last name. And then also it has all of the information we need, right? So the author's last name and author's full name, the title of the article, where it was published, when it was published, and then the website, if it is a website. You don't necessarily need to include the websites, so we could go through and delete the websites. Okay. And so that could just look like this. That's totally up to you guys. I think it looks a little nicer without the websites, but EasyBib will give you the website. Don't delete important information, but EasyBib will give you the citation with the website, so leave it if you want to. Okay. All right. So thank you for listening to our discussion and going through this example essay. We also have another example essay, but we're not going to go through it today. I know we went through the introduction paragraph, but I think this is probably a good place to stop for today. I can always go through this essay as well at a later time if you guys need that. Okay, so this is up here on Canvas. This is up here on Canvas. Not how I edited it. The original essay is up on Canvas. So you guys can go through and check that out. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening and good luck with your work. If you have any questions, please let me know specifically. I'm happy to chat with you whenever. Okay. All right. Talk to you guys soon.